Hey guys, we're gonna get started. We're gonna learn today about NetSheet advice and what we need to know when we're going on listing appointments. That way we can always make sure that our seller is gonna walk away with some money, or that we know what we need to bring to the table. So I'm actually gonna bring a real life example. We're already under contract. So I'm gonna share my screen with everyone. Share. Okay. So I'm going to go to my property on Hagen Spring. This is my newest contract. We went under contract within 1 day. And you see here we're listed at $324,900. So generally with closing costs in our area, it's right around 10%. And mainly because our brokerage, we charge 6% in realtor fees. 3% would go to the listing agent, 3% would go to the selling agent, the buyer's agent. 3% is generally given in closing cost assistance to the buyer from the seller. Now that is 100% negotiable. However, 97 out of 100 times, that's usually what's going to happen. If you get it lower, that's fantastic. You save your client money. And then generally it's about 1% in miscellaneous fees like attorney fees, paying off the lender, title, taxes, all that other jazz. So usually I say it's right around 10%. So when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to sell the house for and what they owe, I always try and figure out what they owe. In our instance, my girl owes $286,000. So I'm going to write down $286,000. All right, and it just say comps say, hey, we can sell at $324,900. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take $324,900 and take 10% of that. So I'm going to get the handy dandy calculator out here. 324,990 0.1, and closing costs would technically be right around $32,490. So now what I want to do is I want to take 324,900 subtracted by that number. And I am left with $292,410. So now what I have to do is subtract from what my seller owes. My seller owed, she told me, $286,000. So now I'm going to subtract that number, the $292,410, with $286,000. And we are left with $6,410, which is great because now I know my seller will actually walk away with some money. I've been on many appointments where I found that my seller isn't going to walk away with money, and it's never fun when they don't. And most of the time they can't sell the house if they can't make money off of it. Now, this is another interesting situation as well with this house. I knew going into this house, it needed a lot of work. And specifically, I knew it needed a brand new roof. On this house, most roofs don't cost $6,000. They probably cost right around $7,000 to $9,000. So I would average right around $8,000 for that. In this instance, my seller would lose about $1,600, which they don't have. So going into that, I knew that we would have to negotiate something, especially the closing cost assistance, because that's where my seller can make some additional money. So in this case, when we got an offer full price, $324,900. They wanted 3% closing cost assistance. I said, hey, we can do 1.5% closing cost assistance. And you try and use whatever, what's the word I'm looking for, negotiation tool that you have. Like ours was, hey, in the same day, we've had 10 showings today. Day one on the market, 10 showings. That brings some urgency to the buyers, which is great. And then that's what gives us the leverage to say, hey, 1.5% closing cost assistance, full price, we got a deal. So at 1.5%, we're not going to do the 10% no more. Now that's going to leave us with 8.5%. So 8.5% of 324,900 is $27,616.50. And that is a difference of $4,873. So we would take $4,873.50 on top of the remaining money that we were going to make before, which was $6,410. So I'm going to do 6,410 plus 4,873 plus 50. And now my seller is going to walk away with 11,283, and that is gold because we need a new roof. And let's just ballpark, new roof is going to cost 8,500 bucks. And no matter what, a new roof is going to have to be put on it. I mean, if you look at it, it's crinkling off, it looks bad. It's had lots of leaks, so it needs a brand new one. And any buyer coming in would say that. So knowing my buyer here is going to walk away with at least $11,000. Now I can subtract 8,500 bucks, just ballpark for new roof, 8,500. And now my seller is actually left with $2,783 after all closing costs, paying the realtor costs, paying everything. And this is estimated because we're estimating the roof and we're estimating the taxes, insurance, blah, blah, blah. But ballpark somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000. It's a pretty good guess that my seller will walk away with that. Now, something else that you got to keep in mind too is in this house, I knew there was about 50 items that had to get taken care of inside the house. So we actually just got the PICRA back, and they said they wanted a brand new roof, and they wanted a ton more items as well. We got a ballpark of everything to be fixed, roof about 8,500, and repairs about $2,000, which is great because now we subtract $2,000 for fixing everything, and we are left with 783 bucks. And that is gold because now my seller can have everything fixed. Buyers will walk into a brand new house and make sure everything is good, brand new roof. And my seller's still gonna she's definitely gonna walk away with a little bit of money, which was the plan all along because they're moving to Italy. They just kind of wanted to drop this house, leave, and we didn't want it to where they would have to bring money to it. So you got to think far in advance when you're starting to list a house saying, okay, what needs to be done at this house? It doesn't need a new roof. I mean, it doesn't need new HVAC. What major items does it need? And then try and figure out what you can sell it for and then what the closing costs are going to be. So in the very beginning, I was like, okay, closing costs, just say best case or worst case scenario, 10%, the 32,000. If that would happen, my seller would be walking away with owing like $4,000, and that wouldn't be good. And at that point, they would probably not want to sell it. So we always got to figure out ahead of time what we can sell it for, what the closing costs are going to be, what are the repair costs going to be, and that way we know how we can negotiate for our sellers when it comes down to this exact moment. So in this moment, I was able to save my seller thousands of dollars and her still walk away with some money, which is the goal. Is there any questions that you guys have or that you can think of? No? No questions? Okay, guys. So remember, always try and figure out what you can sell the house for. Always estimate at least 10% when it comes to closing costs. I do that no matter what, even if it's a $400,000 house, to where closing costs would probably be right around, let's just say, closing cost assistance in this instance, 12,000. Yeah, that would still be about right. Anything above 400,000, the closing cost is generally going to stay around 12 to 15,000. But once you get higher than that, it doesn't go much higher. But most of our houses are in the 250 ballpark. So always estimate at least giving away 3% closing cost assistance. If sellers ever tell you they're not going to pay it, it's going to be very tough to sell that house unless it is an extremely, extremely hot house, or if it's going to be paid by cash, which doesn't happen too often. So always estimate 10%. Figure out what repairs need to be done. I always do a listing inspection ahead of time. And for example, on this exact house, I came up with a very, very hefty list. Told them what we're going to have to expect and told them what we needed to take care of up front. And still we needed $2,000 more in repairs. So always figure that stuff out, because if push came to shove and my seller ended up owing $5,000, they couldn't do it. So always look in the future, and always overestimate as well. That way, if you actually make your seller more money, they'll be happier in the long run. So if you guys have any questions, reach out. But this house was a perfect example for this. So again, if you guys need anything, take care.